Hello and welcome to the first episode of Work in Progress. My name is Andrew Petouvis. I'm your host. It is great to have you here listening today. I am getting back to some of my roots. Things have changed since I really last got on the mic and into the podcasting game. It's been like 3.5 years. And we're coming back with something a little different this time. I want this show to be a place where we can talk about a lot of different topics that are super, super important to me and a lot of you as well. And that includes everything from mental health to physical well-being to the relationships that make our lives go the way that they go. And I want this first season of the show to be focused on inspiration, the people and things that motivate us to be our best selves and give us those little boosts when maybe we're feeling down about ourselves. And I think a really good place to start is a really cool sports story that has captivated me, especially over the last couple weeks. It's not where you'd expect it to be coming from. This time, I want to go take a look at the world of European football. Without further ado, let's get right into today's feature piece. This year, most of the world's eyes on European football have been on teams like Barcelona, who are undergoing a youthful revolution led by young stars like Pedri, Lamine Yamal, and Rafinha, and Liverpool, who were able to rise above the field in the Premier League to win the title in their first year under manager Arne Slot. And in terms of unexpected rises, teams like Nottingham Forest and Atalanta are probably the first that come to mind if you've been following European football this year. However, if you haven't been following it super closely, what I believe is truly the best story in all of Europe this year comes from a little town in the Norwegian tundra. So let me take you on a little trip to the town of Bodø. It is one of the world's northernmost towns. It's above the Arctic Circle and experiences the midnight sun phenomenon in the middle of the summer. And it has a population of around 42,000 people, which, fun fact, that entire town could fit into some of Europe's biggest football arenas. And speaking of football, they have a really good football club called Bodø Glimt. They play in an 8,000-seat stadium with artificial turf, which are both attributes that are not super common for big-level European clubs. They played in Norway's second division as recently as 2017, but have since achieved promotion to their first division, the Eliteserien, and have had some of their biggest success as a club since then. They have a really interesting group of supporters called the Yellow Horde, who carry massive yellow toothbrushes to games, believe it or not. And actually, their fans were the thing that made me hear about them for the first time back in November when the club made a trip to play Manchester United at Old Trafford. And their fans traveled really well, all the way from like Nordland all the way down to Manchester, which is just crazy. And this team is so unique because they're small, they develop talent really well, and they play in a super hostile environment. Their field is sometimes covered in snow before games. They have to travel super far, but throughout everything, they have had their leader, Kjetil Knutsen, their coach since 2018, so basically since they got promoted back to Norway's top division. And since he took over the show, they have had some of their highest success as a club. They reached the Conference League semifinals in 2022, and along the way had a 6-1 home win against Jose Mourinho's Roma team, and they were actually undefeated until they played Roma again in those semifinals, where they unfortunately lost. They have won 4 domestic titles in the last 5 years in Norway, so they've had just this rapid rise. And this year, the coolest thing ever, they became the first ever Norwegian team to make a European semifinal. So the way that European football works is if you finish high enough in your league, you can play in one of 3 European competitions. There's the Champions League, the Europa League, and the Conference League. And where you end up depends on if you finish high enough in your league and if your league is good enough. Like, they basically allot more spots in the higher leagues to the good leagues, like the top 5 in Germany, England, Spain, Italy, and France. But Bodø Glimt managed to make the Europa League, but they actually first qualified for Champions League qualification, where they were unfortunately knocked out, but it ended up actually setting them up for success, and this makes it a really good example of how to make the best out of your failures and have them give you some of your biggest wins. Right now, they are ranked as a top 50 club in Europe, and they have absolutely dominated at home. They have not been super great on the road, but in the Europa League, they have just been insane at home. They only lost, I think, 1 game at home. And going into the Europa League, which has a new format this year, it used to be where you had a group of 4 teams, you played each team twice, home and away, and whoever finished top 2 in each group would make the knockout stage. However, this year they changed it so that there's a league phase where every team, I think in the Europa League there are 36 teams, I'm pretty sure. You play a selection of 8 teams, you play 8 games, 4 home, 4 away, and the top 8 teams at the end of the league phase get an automatic bye to the knockout stage, and teams 9 through 24 have to play basically a play-in for the knockout round. Bodø Glimt had enough points to get that bye, shockingly, even with a super tough schedule, which included teams like Manchester United and Portuguese giants Porto, who they actually beat in their first game. That game was, watching the highlights, absolutely insane. But they managed to finish high enough that if they had not tied with Scottish club Rangers, would have gotten them a top 8 spot. Whatever, they fall down to the knockout stage. They play an insane knockout round, and each round in the knockout stage is 2 legs, home and away. Whoever has the most goals at the end moves on. They played against one of the Netherlands' top teams, Twente, and they had a late comeback in regulation of the second leg at home in Norway, which included a total of 3 stoppage time goals between the 2 teams, including a very, very late equalizer from Twente, which could have been potential heartbreak for Bodø, especially if the old rules where the tiebreaker was whoever scored the most goals on the road moves on, could have been just devastating. But they managed to score twice. Bodø Glimt managed to score twice in extra time. They move on to the round of 16. Insane. And then they meet Greek giants Olympiacos, who I believe won the Conference League last year. This match was characterized by Olympiacos' president complaining about the pitch conditions and basically whining to UEFA, saying that it wasn't suitable for high-level European play because of their artificial turf and the way that the ball bounces. Really weird stuff, very whiny. I do not support that. And you know what happened? These little underdogs from Norway beat Olympiacos. Absolutely insane. They held off a late comeback in the second leg and won. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago. Lazio, who was the team that finished with the most points in the league phase, and one of Italy's biggest clubs, is going to play Bodø Glimt. Collision course here. First leg, Bodø Glimt win 2-0 at home. Again, they have been dominant at home in this competition. Then you go to Rome. And again, Bodø Glimt have not been great on the road. It almost spelled disaster. They gave up 2 late goals to Lazio, aggregate 2-2. It goes to extra time. And for you American MLS fans out there, former New York City FC legend and champion Tati Castellanos did everything he could to keep Lazio in this competition. He scored a goal, played really well in extra time, even through, I think he had cramps in that game, actually. And Lazio scores a goal in extra time. But super substitute Andreas Helmersson for Bodø Glimt scores a goal in like the 118th minute. Miraculously. Momentum is a huge thing in football. Lazio had all the momentum. Bodø Glimt snatch it right back. They send this game to a shootout. And captain of the team, their fearless leader, Patrick Berg, missed his penalty shot in this shootout. And he has a very interesting story because he's one of those examples of players that keep coming back to this club because of the culture they've built. He actually left to go play in France very briefly, but he came back and he is locked into this club. And their goalie, Nikita Hyken, he came into the semifinals with the most saves out of any goalie in the Europa League this year, and he made 2 huge saves against Lazio, including the game-winning save. This game was just insane to watch. Bodø Glimt, my new European darlings, move on to the semifinals. They play Tottenham, one of England's biggest teams, in the semifinals. And the thing that I just find crazy about this run is how much it's exposing about the culture of this club and how it's captivating new fans like myself. And their old fans as well. I mean, 3,000 people showed up to watch them play against Tottenham in the first leg in London this past week, which is just insane. It's insane, and it doesn't even feel like this team can get out of it. Tottenham, who have not been great in the Premier League this year, are on the precipice of making a championship. And by the way, this is a team that has not won anything in Europe in, I think, 17 years. They go up 3-0 against Bodø Glimt at home, but the stand-in captain for Bodø Glimt, Ulrik Saltnes, scored a goal late. They're basically right back in it now and have to win by 2 at home, where, by the way, they have dominated to force extra time against Tottenham. It's so captivating, even as an American who has to watch these games at like 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. I have kept my Paramount Plus subscription just to watch this team because of how much I love watching them, how they're proving everybody wrong. I'll say this much. The prognosticators did not think this was going to happen at all. They were predicted to be one of the bottom teams in the Europa League. They have proved everybody wrong. It is just insane, the culture that they have built there, where they're getting all these people to stay and come back. All this young talent. It's just incredible. They tough through everything. They go through all the naysayers, and they have to deal with this crap from a Greek team president saying that their stadium shouldn't even be allowed to play, and my goodness, are they doing it with heart. They are down right now to Tottenham. They have 90 minutes to come back and tie it this week, and I, with every bone in my body, believe they have exactly what it takes. They have grit. They have hustle. They have a team spirit. They have home dominance. They have the fans behind them. It is going to be a massive game. If you can somehow get to Paramount Plus this week to watch this game, please do. Even if it is their last game in European football this year, you are not going to want to miss the heart, the underdog story that is Bodø Glimt, and I really hope that they can pull this thing off against Tottenham. Again, this is a club from the frozen tundra that has made it to soaring heights in all of Europe, and by far this year I think they are probably the best sports story that you may not have even heard of, and I hope that now everybody is going to follow this run and get behind the boys in yellow from Bodø. So a little snippet for you all. I hope that this is a preview of what is to come on the show, where we're going to dive into all sorts of topics. I wanted to stick with sports today because it's something I love to talk about, and it's just such a cool story. I really hope that you all enjoyed this little snippet of an episode, and we're going to have a lot of stuff coming up on the horizon. We're going to have interviews with some of the biggest inspirations in my life. We're going to have more stories like this. We're going to talk mental health, physical health. That's all going to be right here on Work in Progress. But for now, I thank you all so much for listening to this first episode, and I hope you have a great rest of your day wherever you are. Peace out, and I will catch you in the next one.